So welcome back to the second episode of a new podcast on Radio Wathey, Altrincham Community Media, called The Theatre of Dreams. It's a podcast about football. It's a podcast predominantly about United, but not always about United. And with me again is Tom Jolly, who has his own show on Radio Wathey called is it the Sound of Sport or the Sport?
Soundtrack to sport.
Sound of Sport.
Soundtrack to sport.
Soundtrack to sport, and we've got a guest today, Dom and Wathey, and another United supporter. Dom, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's a pleasure to be here and talking about my favourite club, United.
Good lad. Well, look, as we record this, we've just finished the season, and we're looking forward to the FA Cup. We'll come to that at the moment. Let's just talk about the finish of the season. Third place, a resounding win against Chelsea last week. Actually, not a bad place to be, given that we also had the League Cup in the can as well. Not a bad way to finish the season, really, is it?
I think we've had a better season than Arsenal if we win the FA Cup. That's straight away putting it out
there. I mean, I think what Ten Hag's done from the beginning of the season, when everyone was doubting him after we had those few losses, to where we are now, we're top four in Champions League. We've won a trophy. You know, we could be on to win the FA Cup. It's looking good. The future's bright.
It is. It's been a good season, and as you say, what was the first? We talked about this the other week, Tom. But I mean, we had that Brentford game disaster.
It was the first two games of the season, wasn't it? So we lost at home to Brighton when Graham Potter was there. The second game of the season, we went away to Brentford, lost 4-0, and in the game week 2, we were 20th in the table.
Yeah.
So I think the Premier League released a graphic of, when they do the opera charts, the statistic charts of where you can go throughout the season, the graph, and ours is rock bottom. I think ours is one of the highest gains throughout the season, just because we've gone from 20th in the second game week and not having any points on the board and a minus goal difference of 6 to going up to fourth place, third place even now. So yeah, it's good.
So
we've had some.
Go for it.
We've had some real lows this season with Ten Hag, but the way he's managed to bounce back has just been brilliant from each of these disasters, which means it seems that in the future, next season, looking forward, we can really make some impact, I think.
I liked his speech at the end of the match at the weekend.
Oh, it was brilliant, wasn't it?
I couldn't really hear it in the stands, to be honest, because our sound system isn't great. But I listened back to it, and I thought to myself that had echoes of Sir Alex Ferguson. And
that gives me confidence for Saturday. Although I don't have much at the minute because it's Man City and they are, as we were talking on this last week, Rod, of how good they are being at the minute. It gives me some confidence that he has this confidence that he's not looking at City, he's looking at us as a team and how we can do damage to them, not all they're going to do damage to us. Because I feel like there isn't as much. Although I was speaking to someone at work about this last night and how there isn't as much pressure on United in a sense of, yes, we can stop City winning the treble, but it's the pressure's on City to win it. Because if they win the FA Cup final, they can go into that Champions League final against a easier team in Inter Milan, saying we can win the treble from that.
I agreed, and actually, there's, even though I couldn't hear it in the stadium on Sunday, I listened back to the speech, and it was a real rally call from the manager, and there was the spirit, and you sense that above everything else, the fans love him, trust him, and are behind him, and he gets that. He gets he has a connection with the fans already.
Yeah. Dom, would you want to say something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's brilliant, to be honest. Just like, he's given me hope. He's made me love United again this season. It's just been an amazing turnaround from where we were at the end of last season as well. I think under, Ranić, it was just like a bit of a nail in the coffin for the last 10 years since Alex Ferguson left. And now it looks like there's hope again.
Yeah, I agree. I was really shocked about the Chelsea game last Thursday night. Now, I wasn't there myself this time. I was sitting in the pub watching. I couldn't really hear the commentary, but I mean, I know Chelsea have had a really odd season, but that for me was a big game, and the way that we won that
People
game.
are forgetting about the scoreline. They had chances, by the way, in that game. They had a lot of chances. Mudryk missed an absolute sitter. Kai Havertz missed 2 chances that he should. Any other striker in the league probably buries. So, although we won 4-1, I would definitely say that could have been an easy game at 4-3. But then again, in the first half, we could have been 7-0 up. So it equals it out. Whereas I'd say the result on its own looks good, but the performance, even Ten Hag said after the match in his post-match press conference, wasn't as good as the scoreline says it is.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was there at the game, and I had a prime view of those chances, and I think that's just where the problems for Chelsea this season have lied, is that they've just not been able to pull themselves together and get those goals that they need to bring them through in games.
They've got everything but a striker, haven't they? They've got Lukaku on loan. They've got Brozier, who's injured. They've got that David Fofana, who they brought in from, is it Mulder they brought him in from? And they've not given him a chance to be a focal point. And they've got Aubameyang, who's what, 30 something, he's mid-30s. He's a bit washed up these days in the Premier League, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, they have riches in their squad, and I think our squad is a lot thinner than theirs is. I mean, I think
I agree.
30.
Then again, they've got Frank Lampard as a manager. Frank Lampard is a manager who he came out and said he's not learned anything in his time at Chelsea in his second tenure.
Really?
So although he's got this mass riches of a squad, he can't. I don't think him himself with his tactical ability and tactical nous, he can't do anything with it.
Well, I mean, we have had a decent season because, and I think we said this in the first episode, Tom, in some ways, if you had said take a cup, and I know it's the fizzy cup, but, it's a cup, and take a Champions League position and see some better football and see some real characters on the pitch, because that's the thing I've really liked, is some ownership, some characters on the pitch. Top amongst them, I think, Casemiro personally, and Martinez. I know Rashford's had a fantastic season with 30-odd goals so far.
He's the first person to break 30 goals since 2012-13 when Van Persie did it, and he's the first English player to do it since Wayne Rooney in 2009.
And apart from the freak of the season, I know he's not a freak; he's a fantastic footballer, but. We'll come on to City in a moment. A really good season. Let's talk about the FA Cup, and then we'll talk about our summer window and who do we think will go and who might come in. But let's just talk about the FA Cup. I think I've said before, I'm really not looking forward to this game, and I don't know whether I've got myself in a real downer. And I know it's one game and anything can happen, and we've played well against them this season, and Ten Hag has had some good tactics, and the team will have had a rest as well. But my goodness, they have been astounding this season. It's going to take every one of our players to have a really good game to get close to them. Do you not think?
I'll just say firstly that from what I've heard from City's camp, I'm saying this as I've seen it on a few, when you get them articles about the City's injury doubts. Haaland has trained. De Bruyne, Diaz, Stones have not trained in the last week. So what it looks to be is that Pep may go for a slightly weakened team against United. With obviously, although he's got the firepower up front, his defense may be Akanji, Ake, Laporte, and Stones, or he might be missing one focal figure in the midfield or defense, because he's looking to the Champions League final the next week.
I mean, before leading up to the FA Cup, I was, quietly quite confident. I think we've got a good team spirit now.
Dom, you're the most confident person I've met towards this.
I know. I've probably been in dreamland a bit too much, but hearing that gives me even more confidence. I think we can do it. I think we can pull off stopping City winning the treble.
I think people again, it's a one-off game.
It's a one-off game. We need we need all 11 players on the pitch.
You know, all 15 players, not just 11.
Yeah. I was going to come on to that. But look, we're going to have somebody come and join us. It's a good friend of mine, Rick Varden, and a United fan. So we'll take a pause and we'll be back with the guys in a couple of minutes' time.
Stephen.
So welcome back to the second episode of the Theatre of Dreams podcast, produced by Radio Wathey and Altrincham Community Media. And join us now, what makes a foursome, is a long-time United fan, Rick Varden, and a regular on my show on Radio Wathey, the Late Lunch Show, as the Urban Poet. Rick, what have you made of this season so far, Ten Hag's first season?
I think he's done a good job. We were all in despair, weren't we, those first 3 games of the season, when we lost to Brighton and then we got hammered at Brentford, and you know we had 1 or 2 thrashings early on, and we're thinking, oh my goodness, what's going on here? But I think that was basically the fact that the team he'd put together had not played before with each other too much, and he just needed to find his feet in the Premier League, and he very quickly did that. And I think the rest is history. I mean, he's won us a trophy. Whether City fans will say, well, it's the Mickey Mouse Cup, but then they weren't saying that when they won it. It was a great trophy when they won it. So, and we finished 3rd in the Premier League. So that is a massive on license, so it's got to go down as being a success. And to be in the FA Cup final at the same time with a chance to stop City doing the treble, I don't think would have. I think if you'd have told us at the start of the season we'd be in 2 cup finals and finish 3rd, I don't think we'd have believed it, would we?
No, we've said that actually. You would have taken 1 cup and Champions League qualification right at the beginning of the season, and we've seen some better football at Old Trafford than we've seen for yonks. Really, isn't that the case?
Absolutely, it's become a fortress again. I mean, we Old Trafford hasn't been a fortress since Sir Alex Ferguson left. We had all sorts of teams have come and beaten us at Old Trafford, but this season, apart from the Brighton result, and obviously the one against Sevilla, which was quite a disappointment, we've been really strong at home, and time and time again we've come from behind, showed character, and it's given the Old Trafford faithfuls something to cheer about, hasn't it, at long last?
Tom, what we said, we haven't lost the home.
Say, in the Premier League, we haven't lost a game since the first game of the season at Old Trafford.
That's right, yeah.
It shows what he's done there.
Yeah, amazing. He's done amazing, yeah. I think his signings have been pretty good. I mean, some people might question his loan signings, but I think in their own way they've come in and done a job. Yeah. I mean, people are calling Weghorst a donkey and all sorts, but even then, I think he had a run of about 14 or 15 games. But if you watched him closely, which I'm sure you guys did do, he put some work in.
Yeah.
He put some work in. He might not be able to score a lot of goals, but even
Sabitzer when he's come in as well. Even Sabitzer when he's come in, he's done hasn't he?
I like
Absolutely,
Sabitzer.
Personally,
I unfortunately, we're not going to renew his contract for next season because due to his injuries and due to the fact that we can go and get, I'm sure when we go on to the transfers in a bit, when we can go and get Adrian Rabiot for free or someone like that caliber.
Yeah.
So as a second option, if we can't land those 1 or 2 primary signings, I'd take him back because we saw in that Sevilla game, he was absolutely brilliant. Even when we played a couple of games in the Cups, he's been really good. And he's a good squad player to have where he's a different type of player. Although we've got Bruno, who's an out-and-out 8, Sabitzer can cover Casemiro if needed. He can cover Eriksen.
Yeah. I liked it, like you say, when he played that false number 9 position in a couple of games, scored 2 goals in one of those games.
It was against Sevilla at home because he
was a nuisance in the box. They couldn't deal with him. So I agree with you. I think they could maybe think about retaining him. I mean, personally, you've probably already talked about it, but I'm desperate that United sign Harry Kane because I think. Let's not sign a striker from Portugal or wherever in a minor league that might have scored 20 odd goals, but then has to try and bed into the Premier League. No, we need a proven goal scorer. He is the man. So we have to break the bank to try and get him to Old Trafford.
Well, I mean, I have actually not been as convinced. I'm it's not that I'm unconvinced, but I worry about some players' motivation coming to Old Trafford, and I think that you can have talent and you can have, but you have to have an ambition and you have to have a desire to play for the club. And you know, Harry Kane can score, and we definitely need a goal scorer. I mean, I would like to see us having 2 or 3 or 4 forwards and different combinations and pairings like we used to have back in the 90s. But I know football's moved on considerably, but I think we need more combinations in that way. But
yeah, you might be right, and you've probably covered it while I've not been online. But let's be honest, we've got our own young Harry Kane there, very controversial, and we don't know what's going to happen with him, do we, Mason Greenwood?
yes.
Yeah.
That's a really tricky situation.
That's one that I think, for me personally, I've forgotten about, because not in a sense of what's happened, but that nothing's been talked about it. There was this open investigation with the club, wasn't there, that went in, and then that's still not concluded. So
No,
and it may not get concluded until the new owners come in, because
I don't think it will do. I don't. Even then, in my eyes, I don't think he should come back.
No, it's whether he can come back and still play at the same level he was before.
I don't think it's, sorry, Dom. I don't think it's a problem of him coming and playing at the same level. I think it's the abuse from the fans. I think it's the fans' reception that's the main contributor.
Well, I'll go a stage further than that. I don't think it's the fans or anything else. I mean, I understand what you're saying. And in the eyes of the law, he's an innocent man. However, I don't. If I was the chairman of the board, if I was the chairman of the board at Old Trafford, would I want to take a risk in bringing somebody back on the payroll, starting to play them, and further down the line, I'm not saying it will, an allegation arises.
Yeah.
What do you do then? What do you do?
And also, you got to think about the prominence now of our women's team, for example, and the impact on that.
They've been brilliant this season, by the way.
I've watched them live and really good. And you sort of think, I know that it wasn't proven guilty, et cetera, et cetera. But I think, unfortunately, there's too much baggage with him.
Yeah,
to come back to the club, and I think the new owners will probably be given the chance to decide that rather than the Glazers. And I think it'll be a case of no, he just moved on.
There's rumours of him going to Turkey to play for Fenerbahce. There's rumours of AC Milan. There's rumours of Juventus. So they're the three teams that are supposedly front running.
Yeah.
But the thing is, all them teams want to take him on loan. So that tells me that, as you said, Rod, the new owners will decide.
Yeah, and this still, just not get away from it. As a footballer, we've missed him, right? But you've got to think of the bigger angle on this, and you can't. Yeah, so that's the case, but we've missed having those options. And
saying about Harry Kane, do you think? I think I don't think he'll leave Spurs, because I think Daniel Levy will set a price tag that is, with a year left on his contract and his age, is way too high. I think he's going to set it around what? When City bidded for them, they bidded 120, and he had 3 years left on his contract.
Really,
they're going to want upwards of 100. Whereas I don't think we should pay more than 80 million for him. With a man who's a year left on his contract, the only problem we've got is Tottenham don't want to sell to a direct rival in the same league. They would much prefer to see him shipped off to a Bayern Munich or a Real Madrid or someone of that caliber in Europe, where they can get more money and he's not going to affect their season directly.
Do you know, for me, it's not just about the money. It's about the character fit, which is I'm a little bit questioning about his motivation and really desire to come.
I think his motivation is Shearer's goal scoring record. Would you guys not agree?
I mean, I think he just wants to win a trophy. He wants to win something, because he's been one of the best players in the Premier League.
He's got the Audi Cup. What do you mean?
I mean, he's scored so much in the Premier League. You know, he scored 30 goals in the Premier League alone this season, which any other season would be a goal
radar as well.
Exactly. Everyone's been focusing on Haaland, and he's only 6 goals off him, and he's done that at Tottenham. Apparently, I heard that apparently without Kane's contributions, Tottenham would have finished on 36 points, which is like near relegation.
That's what.
Yeah,
would be
absolutely.
14th. That would be 14th in the league. That.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, to score 30 goals in a bad team, that's a good player. So, but I understand what you mean about motivation. But remember this, Rod, his motivation in the last 2 years has been driven down by Levy. He's not been happy. He's not been happy there. He's been in a situation where he's been forced to stay. He's affected his ambition, if you like, in a way. He's probably thinking, what's going on here? What am I doing here? I'm 30 this year. But I still think, I mean, Alan Shearer was still banging goals in when he was 35. I think we could get at least 3-4
He's that Robin van
seasons
Persie
out of him. Yeah.
He's the second Robin van Persie signing that if we get him, we will definitely. I think if we get him and a midfielder, we will 100% challenge next year.
Let's just talk. When I was at the match at the weekend, I always watch the players at the end of the season and who walks around and how they walk around. And actually, it was quite nice for them to do the walk around the stadium and get an applause. And as we said before, Ten Hag, although you couldn't hear it in the stadium, made a good speech, and it reminded me of Alex Ferguson in the past. But at the very end of the walking round, there was two players who were together. One of them was Harry Maguire, and I can't remember who the other one was. And I was thinking,
not about Weghorst.
It might have been,
but
but
am I thinking of a different video?
I don't know. But the Maguire was somebody else, and I was thinking,
I know which one you mean.
You two are leaving. I'll tell you who it was. It was Martial.
Yeah.
And I thought the two of you were behind the rest of the team. Actually, I would be quite happy if both of them left, to be honest.
Martial's done his hamstring yesterday as well, so he's not going to play the FA Cup final. He's going to miss that. That game on Sunday is going to be his last game.
Yeah, and I think it is.
And unfortunately, with Maguire, I think the price tag weighs heavy. He should have never been given the captaincy, and I think without those two things, he would have been a completely different player. I think. I don't think he's as bad as everyone says he is, but I can't say I'm not happy to see the back of him when we've got Rafael Varane, Lindelof, and Martinez in there.
Yeah. I think he's just too clumsy at the back, and I think he has good moments in the game, but for a full 90, if we're coming under pressure and you need someone to just get a tackle in that's not gonna bring about a dangerous free kick or something, you want your Varanes or your Martinez, they're just a level above Maguire. I think
he's one player that I would think that you have to play to his strengths as a team. I think under Ole, we saw he was somewhat a lot better because he had the protection of Fred and McTominay in front of him. And when we played the three back, when we played the three back with Brandon Williams and Luke Shaw tucking in as a centre back. So I think, although we say England, we play to his strengths. I think at United, he's a lot more isolated and prone to mistakes.
Yeah, but in some ways, I think that his head's gone away. His decision making is gone. And I mean, we talked about it before. There was that game where he received the ball from the goalkeeper. Sorry, that's for my brain injury. And he couldn't take it on the turn, and he was clumsy. And you just think,
is that the same game where they put the clip of Martinez side by side and he did it perfectly, and then Maguire didn't? Is that the same?
I think it was the same game, and it's a shame, but I can see him now going to an Everton or a Villa or somewhere like that.
Oh, he would be brilliant at Everton the way they play, I think.
So you can see that happening. Look, let's go back just to the FA Cup, because that's the next big game. Let's go around the room or around the call, if you like, and talk about our predictions. Rick, we haven't heard from you on the FA Cup. What's your thoughts? You feeling confident?
I was chatting to you earlier on about before my other interview about Martinez and the way we will miss him in that cup final. And I say that because I don't know whether Ten Hag would have done, but for me, the danger men in City's team are obviously De Bruyne and Gundogan. So we need a midfield destroyer in there, and I think he would have been able to do that job. you know, we needn't have played him in the back, centre back. The way we are now with Varane and Lindelof, and obviously having the option of Luke Shaw, we could have played him in the midfield. So it's really, for me, I think we can beat them, but I think the key is who's going to play alongside Casemiro. Eriksen really is a bit lightweight. I think they might blow him away in midfield, because obviously there's only then Eriksen and there's, you know, the wingers. So I don't really know what he's going to do, whether he's going to chance McTominay, whether he's going to put Fred in there, hoping that he might have one of those games that he has every 30 games, you know, where he can't put a foot wrong and he puts all the tackles in. And so that's my view on it. I think it'll be won and lost in that midfield area, to be honest.
What are you saying?
I think it'll be Fred. I think we saw in the first game United played at the Etihad when we lost 6-3. Eriksen played in midfield and got absolutely overrun.
Yeah.
And then when we played them at Old Trafford, we had Luke Shaw at centre back and he had Delo stepping into midfield as a 3-back and then 3 across midfield. So I think you need, unless we're going to play Eriksen higher up and move Wan-Bissaka into midfield, which he's not going to do with the threat of Foden or a Grealish on the wing.
No.
In my eyes, he's going to put a Fred, he's going to bench Eriksen as that player that can come on and do sort of that Pirlo role in a sense if we need him in extra time or later on in the game. And for the first half an hour, 60 minutes, just put Fred in, let him get about the place, let him put his tackles in, or just stick him on Gundogan and let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think in that second game against City, you could see Shaw had Haaland under control the whole game. Fred had De Bruyne in his pocket the whole game, and that's how we won. We pinned down their like best players in this season, and we were clinical up front with the chances we had, and I think we can be quietly confident going into this final. We've got the players, we've got the team spirit. I think we can win.
Ooh,
yeah, I agree.
I like your talk, Dom. I like the fight and talk. I have to say, I am a brick in this game. I have to say, and I think it needs every single one of our team, whoever comes on, the first 11 whoever comes on, to have a cracking game. I think it's really interesting in terms of, in some ways, it's Pep and it's Ten Hag and tactics and how they measure up and the changes they make. You can see that it's the two men going head to head as much as the two teams as well.
I think we have injury issues though, don't we? We've got Anthony went off against Chelsea with a back injury. He's supposedly going to be back, but there's no one's confirmed that. Martial's just done his hamstring, so that means our front three is either going to be he's going to start Weghorst, or he's going to start Weghorst as a 10, move Bruno on the right, Rashford up front, you know, or he's going to just leave that front three that we did with Chelsea with Rashford and bring Sancho on the right and probably maybe start Garnacho or something like that.
Well, or you might be doing that old Fergie thing, which is, you know, players have injuries and suddenly they appear. And then
we've obviously got Luke Shaw as well, who's done his back in as well. So it depends really. I mean, Molassi's not exactly a bad replacement, but Luke Shaw's Luke Shaw. He's been a real good season.
Yeah, he's had a really good season, Luke Shaw. Yeah. Okay, so let's pin you down. Expectations: win or lose or extra time. What do you reckon? Let's go around the room. Rick, what do you reckon? What do you think?
I think we can beat them. I don't see us keeping a clean sheet against City, so I'll go for 2-1. A 2-1 United win, maybe over extra time.
Dom?
I don't know. Oh, sorry. Did you say Dom or Tom?
Dom. I'm D Dom.
Go for Dom.
I think I think I'll probably have to go for a 2-1 as well. I don't know. I'm feeling a late Garnacho winner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Tom?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know, because I think we're either going to have one of those days where we scrape a 1-0 or we're going to get thrashed. I feel like there's going to be no in between. I think I'll go 1-0 in normal time.
1-0 in normal time. I've said to you before, I would take a 1-0 to them in extra time. You know, I want us to be competing. And I think we'll know in the first 20, 25 minutes what sort of game it's going to be and how long a drive home it could be. But
yeah. With having David De Gea with his penalty record, although he saved one against Mitrovic, we don't want him to go to penalties.
No. I think we saw that against Brighton as well, didn't we? In the semi-final, we weren't very good. We just had to rely on Solly March missing his penalty. So
and City don't miss pens.
No. Well, they have lost the last 2 penalty shootouts. So
I love his stats. I love his stats. So, you know, my head was never good with stats. Well, look, that's we'll take a wrap there on another episode of the Theatre of Dreams. If you'd ever like to join us, or you got any questions or topics you would like us to discuss, we'll do so. We'll come back in a week or two's time and discuss the FA Cup, whatever happened, and we'll look forward to the summer and who's going to be on their way out and who might be coming in. That's another episode of the Theatre of Dreams. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, Rod.
Yeah, thank you very much.